This thing is 19,000 pounds, and it'll haul ass.
Built to burn rubber and stop bullets.
If he needs an armored car, somebody's out to get him, and you don't want to be with him.
Constructed by hand. Some pass for ordinary cars and trucks.
The only time you'll ever know it's there is if you have a hand grenade thrown underneath your car.
Others are made to scare bullets away.
When we pull up and the bad guys see it, they give up.
Impenetrable fortresses built to protect. And built for speed. SpeedMakers, armored vehicles. This SUV is about to undergo testing to ensure the quality and reliability of its build. But this is no ordinary SUV. And this is no ordinary test.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Over 30 pounds of TNT detonated from less than 15 feet. When the dust settles, the interior is completely intact. Constructed by Armored Project Vehicle Company in Gibraltar, Spain, it's just one example of the remarkable technology that exists in armoring today. And it was built from a normal SUV. Once considered a necessity only for heads of state, armored cars are more and more common amongst celebrities and religious leaders who feel their lives could also be in danger.
We've done vehicles for some of the most wealthy individuals as well as some of the most famous individuals. There truly is a real need out in the world to provide this type of protection.
But the need for protection isn't just a matter of national security or fame. For some, it's the cost of doing business.
Some of the third world countries, it's a very high level of risk. Risk against kidnapping. And if you're a businessman in those countries and you need to be there for your employment, then you need to take the necessary precautions.
Armoring commercial vehicles has a long and somewhat infamous history, dating back to the early 1900s.
We talk about the days of Bonnie and Clyde and Al Capone, where they basically just mounted steel to their vehicles. It wasn't air-hardened, heat-treated, it wasn't ballistic, it was just steel.
Now, with the advent of modern-day technologies, even military-grade ballistic steel's a bit old-fashioned.
We use synthetic fiber laminates. We use the highest tech material available in armoring these passenger vehicles. We're able to produce a car that is completely protected. Roof, floor, pillar post, glass areas everywhere.
One company leading the charge into the armored passenger vehicle arena is International Armoring Corporation, a company founded on a simple principle: build the most advanced armored passenger vehicles in the world. Since 1993, they've armored over 6,000 cars and trucks, including some of the most divine vehicles on the planet. But no car is too small to be made safe.
There are some models that are much more conducive to armoring. A Volkswagen Beetle is not a good car to armor, but we have done one of those.
A key ingredient to the company's success at building top-of-the-line armored cars: make sure the finished car can get away fast.
This isn't really like the movies. They don't chase you down the street shooting at you. They usually have a fixed area where they do this attack. If you can get out of that fixed area, your likelihood of surviving increases tremendously.
Most customers have their cars sent straight from the dealer to International Armoring's facility. Still, some vehicles, like this black Range Rover, need an aftermarket makeover.
We've just received this vehicle, just came off the truck. We're going to inspect it, make sure that all the accessories are included in the vehicle, there's no damage to it. Overall, that it's in good shape. Dad's going to be measuring the original suspension height as the vehicle arrived. We want to find out exactly what the overall height is, When we finish with the vehicle, it's going to be the same height that it is right now.
Inside International Armoring Corporation, an average of 20 vehicles are in various stages of armoring at one time. Each one will go through 5 major steps of construction: disassembly, armor installation, suspension and tire upgrades, armor concealment, and final inspection. It's a process that usually takes over 4 months to complete. Once the vehicle's checked in, the first step, disassembly, stripping it down to bare metal, with one critical caveat: it needs to leave in the same condition it's received.
When we're disassembling, we're not just tearing parts out, we're not just ripping cars apart, we're taking care that we're able to put these things back together again easily, without problems.
A team of skilled workers moves in on the vehicle from all angles, with each individual focused on a specific section of the car. Preparing to remove the front glass, armor the battery, and remove the dashboard, the hood needs to come off. Since armored cars need special glass to stop bullets, all the original glass is basically garbage. Still, removing it requires considerable care to avoid damage.
What we'll do is we'll use this to cut the glue that holds the windshield in. And we spray a little bit of window cleaner on there so it helps this slide so it'll cut it a little bit faster. The hardest part is getting down through the bottom without damaging the dash and getting up underneath the headliner and not damaging anything.
Inside the car, workers strip interior panels. Everything needs to come off for armor to go inside. Increasing the complexity of the breakdown, many parts must be removed in a certain sequence.
We have to come up with an order of how to take the stuff apart and without breaking pieces apart. In order for me to get this part off, I have to take out this rear seat, then all this quarter plastic, then this piece. Because all this is behind this piece right here.
While International Armoring has nearly 2 decades and thousands of cars worth of experience, each model and year has its own unique challenges.
Quarter panel might be built a little bit different than what they're used to. Glass might be a little bit different than what they're used to. Even the flooring may be different than what they're used to.
Pulling every part of a car out may seem like a piece of cake, until you have to put the pieces back in. To get it right, you've got to be organized. Every piece is labeled with detailed information regarding location and build sequence.
They have to mark things properly so that when they're putting things back together, they're putting things back together in the right process.
One of the most complicated parts of the breakdown is removing portions of the wiring harness.
We'll take out all the wiring harness so we don't step on any plugs that we're unplugging and break them. And we also don't want to burn them while we're welding and grinding.
Any bend or crimp in a wire could be seemingly insignificant until you try starting up the vehicle.
If we do happen to break or cut through a fiber optic cable, we do have to replace the whole wiring harness. It's something that you just can't buy separately. A wiring harness can cost up to $4,000.
Finally, the team reaches the most daunting step in the dismantling process: the dashboard.
There's probably 2 miles of wiring in the dash alone, not to mention anywhere from 3 to 10 computers, depending upon the vehicle manufacturer.
Hopefully we don't break anything and scratch anything pulling this thing out. It's always a challenge for us.
At International Armoring Corporation, the teams nearly stripped a new car to bare metal, the first step in building a bulletproof speeding fortress. But the only thing left to pull is one of the most complex: the dashboard.
We do things to these cars that would scare professional mechanic to death. No mechanic will ever gut out a car like the way that we do.
With so many different configurations from one car model to the next, even the most experienced crew can run into trouble. The team's attempt to pull the dash has hit a snag, literally.
Can you pop the speaker out?
Kind of pull back on the dash a little bit, see if we can see it. We're still pretty solid, George.
Okay.
We got the big bolts down the sides undone. Sometimes there's a hidden bolt. Just look for that last bolt to get this thing out of there. We're close. We just got that last one.
Oh, it's already out.
When the factory assembles these cars, all the pieces, the doors are not here. They put that dash in when the vehicle's rolling down the assembly line and they have lots of space. And they'll put that dash in about 6 pieces. Our challenge is to take that dash out in 1 piece and put it back in 1 piece.
I find another ball inside the corner. Uh-oh. I need another one.
Found one, now we gotta find it.
With the final bolt out, the team removes the dash, leaving the SUV almost completely gutted.
We don't like to show that to our clients at that time because they kind of get panicked. They want to say, what did you do to my car?
The next step, armor installation, adding bullet-resistant materials to create a nearly impenetrable shell. An armored car's first line of defense is ballistic steel. For its thickness, nothing's better at stopping bullets. International Armoring uses a powerful tool to cut plates custom fit for armoring a standard car. It's called a plasma cutter.
Plasma actually vaporizes the steel, turns it into a gaseous state, totally clears it out of the way. Gives you an incredibly sharp, clean cut.
The result is a finished part needing little or no finishing. And plasma cutters are so precise, they can be used on the fly, cutting parts as needed without delay.
The heat is so confined, so small, that only the area vaporizing is building up any significant heat. This piece can be picked up in less than a minute after it's been totally cut out by the bare hands.
While hand cutting creates parts in a pinch, for the most efficiency, International Armoring uses a computer-controlled plasma cutter to handle big jobs.
It'll cut each one of these. We go back those programs and choose another one, and then it'll cut that one. It saves a lot of time where you don't have to do it by hand.
With all the steel parts needed, workers get down to business inserting ballistic plates at key points where armor rigidity is crucial. A critical issue with welding ballistic steel? Welding actually makes the steel more brittle.
As you can see, we don't have full welds across the steel. Anytime you put a weld on ballistic steel, you weaken that steel.
International Armoring's solution? Spot welds hold the steel in place. The seams in between are joined by a chemical process that's strictly top secret.
We've developed a process that is called a weld-free process. Can't go into a lot of detail on it. It's proprietary to our company.
While ballistic steel's needed for some things, it has a big disadvantage. It's heavy. And when you're trying to maintain high performance, weight is your enemy. Enter Armor Max, International Armoring's custom-designed armor plating.
There's the bolt entry. It's absorbed, its layers have separated, and this is the separation of the energy, the absorption of energy right there.
Armor Max is so effective, to stop a high-caliber handgun, the material can be seriously thin.
This is a sample of ArmorMax material, a component of the thicker material that we've used earlier. This standalone material will stop .44 Magnum, but yet it's very thin, and as you can see, extremely, extremely light. This weighs less than 1 pound per square foot. That is critical when we talk about these passenger vehicles. With these passenger vehicles, we want to reduce the weight the best we can so that we maintain that original performance of the vehicle.
Removing interior body panels, workers are careful not to damage internal mechanisms. After that, installing ArmorMax is simple.
You got to fold this one, right?
In the roof, a thin layer of super effective ArmorMax material provides complete protection.
Typically, if you're going to get a roof shot on an SUV or a sedan, it's going to be from a bridge or it's going to be from a window. So anytime you're getting an angle shot or a distance shot, the velocity of your round's going to change. So that's how we can get away with using lighter armoring materials in the top opposed to using steel.
The result? A vehicle body set to block bullets and blasts. It's an assurance of safety critical to threatened civilians and law enforcement. One of International Armoring's biggest fans, their local SWAT team. Meet Ogden, Utah's finest, the Metro SWAT team. Special weapons and tactics are called in only when things get really ugly. For them, an armored SUV is just the thing to bring a situation to a swift close.
We have someone that's been involved in homicides or anything like that. We'll be the ones that serve those narcotic search warrants.
With armor plating and bullet-resistant glass, SWAT team members don't need to search for cover. They just drive it in.
Pulling up to a volatile situation in this vehicle makes you feel pretty much untouchable.
Still, any vulnerability in your armor, no matter how small, could be catastrophic. Building an armored vehicle able to stop bullets and escape a kill zone fast, ballistic steel and ArmorMax plates have been installed. But how will it hold up under fire? Speeding in to protect a fallen comrade, Ogden, Utah's SWAT team relies on an armored vehicle, protecting officers so they can get in and out without injury.
We try to use as much protection as we possibly can, and that's what this affords us, is the maximum protection for the safety of everybody out there.
Once the drill is complete, team leader Jamie Garcia opens the side rear door and exposes a very real armored car weakness.
And as you can see, when you open up the door, that the round did penetrate the seam of the door.
The solution? An additional barrier bridging the gap. It's called the overlap system.
What I'm doing here is I'll be welding the overlap system onto the body of the car itself. What this does is it protects the passengers from bullets from entering the door jambs where we cannot possibly put ballistic steel in the door frame.
The overlap system requires its own rigidity to hold up under fire, so ballistic steel's used rather than flexible ArmorMax. But even with all this protective armor plating, you still need to be able to see if you want to escape an ambush.
Your glass is your most critical area. Tendency of the bad guys is to shoot at what they can see. And because they're bad shots, we armor the rest of the vehicle.
Multiple shots from a high-powered rifle devastate the surface of the glass. But amazingly, on the passenger side, the window holds up.
As you can see, this is where the bullets have impacted the glass. This glass now has absorbed the energy of the round. Now that bullet has gone through multiple layers and has been absorbed here on the back side of the polycarbonate.
On the outside, layer upon layer of leaded glass slow bullets down. But the real magic is the protective rear layer.
So on the front side you have glass, a leaded glass. Here on the back side you have a polycarbonate which has elasticity. It expands and absorbs the impact of the round, the energy of the round, as well as the glass fragments that would come through if we did not have this plastic surface.
Aside from shielding an attack, today's armored cars are designed to blend in, a tall order for 2-inch thick glass. Still, companies like International Armoring have that covered.
What this piece right here is, this is called a rebated edge. The rebated edge is designed and built to go into the original channel of the door. The glass will fit up inside it, so from the outside of the vehicle, it looks like an original piece of glass that came with the vehicle.
Incredibly heavy, glass installs require a lot of muscle.
For installing this glass, I need 3 people.
In the rear, tailgates must be protected while remaining functional. To achieve this, ballistic glass and armored doors are installed inside the original hatch. But the most difficult and tedious glass to insert is the windshield.
It's very critical that we get that glass to fit in there nice and tight. So we don't have wind noise, we don't have water leaking issues.
With a typical ballistic windshield weighing almost twice as much as an average refrigerator, it's easier said than done.
The challenge that we face in doing that is that the glass is so heavy. This windshield here weighs approximately 300 to 350 pounds.
With the glass in place, workers check to see that everything fits perfectly. This rarely ever happens on the first try.
We've got the windshield in, but the headliner still needs to be trimmed up along the top of the windshield. And so we have to cut more off the headliner itself so we can get the windshield to fit properly.
Bottom first, bottom first. Bottom, bottom, bottom. There you go. Okay, top. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
In a standard install with maximum preparation, the windshield comes in and out 4 times before it's ready to be sealed.
To put that glass in, take it out, put it in, take it out multiple times to get that true fit, you risk fingers being smashed, that glass can break. Once that glass breaks or gets a crack on it, it's basically useless to us.
Oh, it's still too tight. Still too tight. Yeah. And the corner is only. Yeah. And how much of a gap do you have up? Holy cow. Pull it up, let me feel.
Finally, everything checks out, but there's one more step.
Okay, right now, before we put the windshield in for the final time, we're going to add carpet to the bottom of the dash where we have cut it, so you don't look to the windshield and see the cut dash.
Before it's placed the final time, urethane sealant is applied around the windshield frame.
Okay, we're just going to make sure that it's centered now. Then we're going to seal it up, make sure it's in its correct position, and we're done. So it's mounted in its correct position.
Now the car's protected from every angle except one. Driving into hostile territory, it's common to encounter a serious threat from underneath. To protect against road mines or rolling grenades, a high-tech carpet is placed under the floor to catch flying shrapnel.
When a fly flies into a spider's web, the more it moves around, the more entangled it becomes. The same principle that we have here with ballistic nylon. It actually kind of starts shredding apart as it starts going in. And the faster that fragmentation is going in there, twisting and turning, and the sharper it is, the hotter that it is, and the faster that it's moving, the more entangled it becomes.
Workers lay out a blanket of this super stopping material and begin marking.
We'll mark where we want it to go. cut that out and it'll be formed to the whole floor.
The material is so strong, it can't be cut by a blade. To make slices in the fabric, workers use a special tool that melts it at over 1,000 degrees.
The hot knife burning into it, and that's what we got to use to cut it. It also does the same thing in a bomb blast. This layer is made to absorb all the hot pieces.
But even if the passengers are protected inside the vehicle, a well-placed shot can still make it impossible to speed away.
If you shoot the battery, then it shuts down the whole system. Like having a dead battery in your car, nothing will run, so you have to protect that.
Guarding against an electrical failure, the battery is completely encased in ballistic steel. With the final stages of armoring complete, the vehicle's ready to take heavy fire.
We armor the entire passenger compartment, the roof, the floor, the pillar posts, the glass areas, the doors, the fuel tank, and the battery. This provides a virtual cocoon of protection for those that are riding in these vehicles.
At International Armoring, workers have completed the first two armoring steps: disassembly and armor installation. Now, built to keep the bullets and blast outside, it's time to get this moving fortress up to speed.
We don't build offensive vehicles, we build defense. The idea is to get away, not stay and fight.
No matter how light your armor is, it's still important to remember an armored car's a heavy beast.
You've added 11 to 12 to 1,300 pounds to these vehicles. So when you're braking, you have to take that into consideration. When you're going around a corner, you have to be a little bit more cautious.
To manage the added weight, it's time for the next phase: suspension upgrade. Installing springs, shocks, and sway bars built to handle the heavier load.
This is the OE, which is the stock, and this is the upgrade right here. Because what differs these two is the wire thickness. This one is about 3 millimeters thicker wire than this. So it'll hold up more weight, and it'll also, when you hit bumps, it'll absorb the energy a lot better.
Workers also replaced the sway bar with a beefier version to preserve traction.
These will help you in cornering and the basic drivability of the vehicle. It'll feel more like the original stock, the way it did from the factory.
Around corners, a vehicle's natural tendency is to roll toward the outside tires. Sway bars attach to a car's front suspension, transferring some of the force to the inside tire, maintaining balance. But no matter how much your suspension can handle, you won't get far without tires. In the event of a blowout, armored cars have a system to get you out of danger. It's called the run-flat system.
That's what absorbs the pressure and the friction when this vehicle is in motion if the tires flatten and falls down on the run-flat band. It just rotates around, cuts the friction down.
Punctured by bullets or stray road hazards, a typical tire drops directly onto the wheel rim, shredding the rubber. Hitting pavement, a rim has almost zero traction. The principle of the run-flat system is to keep the tire on a spinning ring away from the rim. The tire doesn't shred so the wheel holds its traction. The secret's in the lube.
It's a special high-temp grease. Like we say, we can run 50 miles on that grease without it failing, and that's, I can't tell you the characteristics of it except to say that it's incredibly effective.
To connect the run-flat system, workers first cut a notch in the inner ring. Both rings are fastened to the wheel to check their fit. Then, they're removed so the tire can be mounted. Next comes the hard part, attaching the inner and outer ring underneath the tire.
It is hard. Well, you know how many space for working. The ring and the tire is too small for put your hands inside.
Once the rings are finally connected, the tires aligned on the rim and inflated. Now, the armored car is set to burn rubber. The fourth step, concealment. It's a master-crafted optical illusion, disguising a bulletproof vehicle as an average SUV. The armored vehicle transformation's almost complete. With one more build step before shipping, it's nearly ready to conceal, stop bullets, and speed out of danger.
They're not tanks. We want them to get out of a dangerous situation.
But when it's your job to enter into hostile territory, sometimes you just need to carry a big stick. Meet the Virginian. The largest in a line of tactical personnel transports built at Armet Armored Vehicles in Danville, Virginia. In almost every way, the Virginian's the bigger, badder brother of converted armored passenger cars. Its brawn begins with a solid Ford truck chassis made to haul serious loads.
The vehicles are all built on F550 chassis, and we take a F550 chassis, we basically strip it down to the engine and frame and build the vehicle by hand from there up.
In combination with the rugged chassis, Armet outfits these mini tanks with a tough suspension built to handle the heavy weight with remarkable maneuverability.
After people drive it for the first time, the main thing that they usually say is how agile it is. It has a fantastic turning radius. It turns tighter than the SUV does.
And the Virginian's much more than a comfortable ride. Surrounded by a dual layer of ballistic steel plating, it even stops armor-piercing rounds dead in their tracks.
The holodeck armor is a very strong armor. It's designed similar to a tank's armor. It's 2 layers of armor with a 2-inch gap filled with fire-retardant foam. What happens is the outer layer deforms the projectile and the inner layer stops it. The glass that we use is a 76 millimeter, and it will defeat the 50 caliber ball round.
The average customer base for this kind of equipment has pretty high standards, but Armet's very confident in their product, and this is their sales pitch.
Well, today we're testing the strength of some ballistic material. Our SWAT team members were very interested today to see if the materials would actually hold up to today's standards.
The first test is a high-caliber round capable of serious damage at long range. Up close, even the Virginian's armor plating shouldn't stand a chance.
In a tactical situation, this is an HK-91. It will be used as primarily be a long-range weapon, sniper type situation. It would definitely penetrate a bulletproof vest, no problem. Cut through it like paper.
With sniper rounds completely deflected, the SWAT team moves on to high-speed rounds, purpose-built for maximum carnage.
It could probably go in here and would maybe deflect off a bone and would probably come out down here in your hip somewhere. That's how this round travels when it enters the body. It is a very, very fast round. And it did what it's supposed to do. it tore right through it. But you look on the other end, on the back side of it, nothing. You can't even tell that any damage happened on the front side. It is totally unharmed. You can see it definitely deflected rounds. And you're looking at about about 2 inches. About a 2-inch deep trench.
Impressed, but still determined, the team decides it's time to go full auto on a piece of ballistic glass.
I'm impressed.
Of course, you can see all of the shattering in the front. Didn't do anything in the back. Nothing. Doesn't even feel deformed.
The rugged armored vehicle passes every test with flying colors.
Coming out here this morning, and I said, okay, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna shoot up some stuff. I said, eventually we're gonna go through something, and we never did.
It's really great to see my product stand up to what we expect it to, and especially in front of a bunch of guys like this.
For law enforcement, tools like this are defensive instruments they hope will never be put to serious use. Still, even at the $200,000 base price, it's good to know you've got the bite to back up your bark.
Actually, to quote one of our officers that use it, he said, when we pull up and the bad guys see it, they give up.
This vehicle is a very intimidating, badass looking vehicle, and it'll haul ass.
The best armored vehicles in the world are built to withstand serious torture and burn serious rubber. But while intimidation can repel an attack, others prefer a more discreet approach. For some, security and privacy are equally important. And for those living in hostile territory, just standing out can make you a target.
International armoring started because of customers' desire to have cars that looked original. They didn't want them to look like they were a tank. They didn't want them to look like they were bulletproof. We don't want these vehicles to stand out in the public. We don't want people to know that they're armored. In fact, you can go to many cities in many parts of the world and armored cars drive by you every day and you would never know it.
With disassembly, armor installation, and suspension and tire upgrades complete, the team at International Armoring has moved to Phase 4, concealment, ensuring the finished vehicle looks just like the original.
With all the armoring that we've already put into the vehicle, the tolerances, as you can imagine, have already kind of moved in. So there'll be a process that we'll see as they put it in. They'll take the measurements, they'll pull it back out, they'll do a little bit of trimming on it, they'll put it back in, see if it fits, pull it back out.
The first step, inserting body panels to measure the offset created by armoring. Parts are taped to avoid overcutting. If a piece is trimmed too much, it has to be scrapped and replaced.
We're actually taking each piece of interior material and we have to shrink it fractionally. Some places a 16th, a 32nd, an 1/8, 1/4 inch. We have to make every piece fit in 3 dimensions to go back inside and fit the vehicle.
Once the trimming is complete, the worker places the part back in the car and checks the fit.
Very important to get the correct measurements and to cut it exactly right so we don't end up with a gap.
It's a tedious but critical process that takes an average of 40 hours to complete.
So here's an example of one of the quarter panel trim pieces. We're going to look at taking about a 1/16 of an inch off this all the way along here. We've already made about 10 or 12 cuts on this same piece. We're taking it off small amounts each time so we do not overcut it. No point in ruining a trim piece. We want it to be a perfect fit. And that's the type of detail we put into our cars.
Finally, the part fits perfectly. A fully disguised armored body section able to withstand an enemy attack without drawing attention. Replacing fixtures and mechanisms like door and roof handles completes the illusion.
Just getting everything lined up and trying to put the grab handles into the screw holes is about the most difficult part.
The finished result isn't meant to impress. It's meant to go unnoticed. But the armored vehicle still has one more step to go. Final inspection. It's the final stage at International Armoring. Disassembled, armored, upgraded, and concealed. The result is an armored car built to protect while providing a comfortable ride. But will it check out?
We're inspecting for any body damage, any significant issues. When you put over 1,000 pounds of ballistic steel in a vehicle, there's always a chance for body damage.
Once it passes inspection, the only thing left to do is turn the key and pray. At this point, any error code means a wire's been damaged and the car needs to be stripped.
Well, this is the moment of truth. We have armored this car. We have taken it apart, put all the protective materials in there, and you always wonder whether everything is going to work out really good or whether you're going to have to take it all apart again. So here we go. Seems like everything works.
On the road, accelerating, braking, and pulling turns, the armored SUV handles beautifully.
Well, here we are riding a new armored car. It looks just like a regular car, except this one will stop the bullets.
All in all, it takes about 4.5 months to armor a common SUV at an average cost of about $48,000. But for many, it's worth a lot more.
But one thing that we're very proud of is that these vehicles have held up in the field. We've had over 250 attacks on our vehicles, and to the best of our knowledge, there's been over 400 people that's lives have been saved.
Combat-ready road machines. They're built to withstand heavy fire with cutting-edge armor, giving you the peace of mind to lean back and enjoy the ride. SpeedMakers, armored vehicles.